3, 2, 2. All right, play. All right, let's go.
My favorite time of year.
Perfect.
I really love coming back to lecture and share my ideas on branding, social media, and just generally trying to make sure you're successful the minute you leave this place. But for the last 2 years, I've done something a little different. Instead of telling you about branding, I've shown you branding by branding a few Hall of Famers live on stage. It started at Hall of Fame 9 with Fernando Delgado. And Fernando, it's time for you to see your brand that we've been very hard at work on, team. Boom! Look at that handsome man! And it continued at Hall of Fame 10 with Leslie Brathwaite. You turn the lights off, and it captured the most magical moment. And this picture completely inspired me for the visual brand. But this year, I'm doing something a little different. Instead of branding someone that's already established, I'm branding you. That's right. I'm turning the tables and showing you how to build your own brand quickly, responsibly, effectively, step by step, without overthinking it. What's important right now? How can you listen to your strengths and put your best foot forward? Those are some of the questions I plan to tackle over the next 2 parts. Part 1, using a student example so that you know how to go and do it yourself. Part 2, completely interactive. I'm going to be answering your burning branding questions live on stage. Ready for some fun? I know I am. Let's do it. Well, hello. I see some new faces. I see some familiar faces. Welcome back for more. I'm so happy you guys are here in the room and watching online. Welcome. How's everyone doing? So, today's going to be fun. This is new stuff. I know some of you have attended my sessions in the past. And for the first few years I started coming back to Hall of Fame, I would come up here and I would lecture, and I realized I can't keep saying the same thing over and over again, right? So for the last 2 years, I would take a Hall of Famer, as you saw in the video, right up here, and I would brand them in front of you. Today we're doing something new. We are branding you. 2 parts. Today is part 1, okay? So we're gonna start with a student example. That'll happen in a few minutes. And my goal this year is a little bit different than what we've done in the past. My goal is to keep it a little more casual. It's to give you actionable takeaways so that you can go and build a brand for yourself without overthinking it. So let's get started. You know my social media handle by now. You also know if you attended yesterday, I've already prepared all the notes for you. Some of you have downloaded these. Not all of you, but you should, especially for this session, okay? We're gonna go through the steps of branding. I will start by explaining what those steps are. But as a reminder, I have prepared the notes for you at philpallen.co/HOF11. 5 actionable tips: photography, positioning, brand identity, website, social media. Okay? So that today, what I really want you to do is kick back, enjoy, but be thinking about some of the conversations I have with our student guest today, and think about how these conversations are the types of questions that you can be asking yourself, or you can be even having with your friends or your classmates. In this position, in my job as a brand strategist, since graduating Full Sail, I've worked in a lot of different industries with a lot of different experts, professionals, celebrities, politicians, you name it. Regardless of industry or level of fanciness, as I describe it, the process for building a brand is exactly the same. But it becomes confusing because experts define this term branding in all different ways. My goal today is to reinforce that you don't have to overthink it. We don't have to put energy into things that are not that important. For example, a logo. A logo is not something you need the minute you graduate. And we'll talk about this. I'm just as happy to see your name in a great free font that you could find on a platform like Google Fonts, Typekit, if you have an Adobe subscription. There are two options, okay? I summarize more tips for you in this handout, and all of you know that if you have questions for me, you can reach out to me on platforms like Instagram and on Twitter. Again, I, along with everyone who comes back to campus this week, we're here for you, to help you out, to meet you, to learn and hear exciting updates that you have as you're honing in on what it is you're going to do when you leave this place. That's what we're here for, so use us. Today, I am branding you. In the past, I've made this splashy and fancy and done all kinds of work ahead of time before arriving up on this stage. Today, I am doing most of the work right up here, in front of you. Some of it is planned, but some of it is not, because I want you to watch and learn and apply to you. So let's start with the process, shall we? And any of you who have attended one of my talks know or should be familiar with this process. So it's like, a friendly little reminder. We start with positioning your brand. The process is exactly as you see on the screen. Position, build, promote. We start by positioning your brand. What is it you love to do? And how do we pair that love with something others need and are willing to spend money on? Once we feel good about positioning, we move on to build. Build means building something to show for your passion, your expertise. Build includes all visual elements of branding. And in this order, at least for my process, photography, developing your brand identity, which includes a logo if you have one, or your name in a great, clean typeface, color, typography, so the fonts, the typography you use consistently in web and in print, business cards, social media assets, resumes, even signage, all of these types of things, video graphics. And once we have photography, your brand identity, decisions made for all those visuals, we put them together on a website. Today, you're going to get a window into the process, my process of creating a website. I spent only a few minutes preparing for this today. Again, I want most of the work to actually happen up on stage. And tomorrow, you have to come back for the reveal of what we build together. Tomorrow is the final session of Brand Me, Part 2, where you'll see all of the work we do together actually come to fruition, live online. The final stage, position, build, promote. We stick a for sale sign out front of the house that we've worked very hard to stage and build. All too often, people jump too quickly to this final stage. They're too quick to promote their brands, right? You can't sell a house if it doesn't have a roof yet. I mean, you can try, but you'll get a fraction of the value that you deserve. And so I'm often finding myself reminding people to revisit how their brand is positioned. Let's revisit what visuals we're using to represent our brand so that it accurately communicates who you are and why people should care, because attention spans are at an all-time low. So we have to grab their attention quickly. Position, build, promote. Promote includes social media. It really includes any kind of effort to get eyeballs on you. Again, doesn't matter what your industry is. I don't care if you're famous or fancy or rich or not. The process is exactly the same. And the way that I'm going to brand you today is exactly how I brand anyone else. This process has not failed me yet, so I think you're in for a treat. Now, moving on to the next part of this that I am so excited for. I'm going to tell you the story about how this happened. Let me start with that, and then we're going to bring her up on stage. Who's the lucky student that I get to brand? I know you're all wondering this, right? Well, her name is Andrea. Yeah, exactly. Give her a round of applause. I'm going to bring her up on stage in a second. Andrea emailed me about maybe 6, 7, 8 months ago. And I couldn't believe it. She said, Phil, I know this is bold, but I want you to mentor me. My final project, she's in entertainment business master's degree. She said, I'm branding myself. And it was recommended to me that I should reach out to you, and so that's what I'm doing today. And I thought, wow, that is bold. That's bold. But I kind of liked it. I liked that boldness, and I thought about it. I thought, how could I help Andrea with my very limited time? You know, I bounce around the world, and I'm place A to place B very quickly. But I thought, I know what I'm going to do. We're going to do this at Hall of Fame, and we're going to do it in front of an audience that will also benefit from watching and being a part of this experience. So without further ado, I want to bring Andrea up to the stage. Let's give her a very warm welcome. Hey, cutie.
Hello.
I'm so happy you're here.
I'm happier.
I've had dreams of this moment, and we're finally here together on stage.
Yes, we are.
How exciting is this? Obviously, okay, fine. Andrea's, she's lucky because she gets my attention and your attention to create this. But this also involves a lot of vulnerability, right? To agree to come up here live in front of you to create something special. So thank you for being so willing to do that.
Thank you for having me.
So remember that moment? Remember that email you sent me? You were like, okay, can you mentor me?
And you said yes.
And I said yes.
Wasn't that great?
Yeah. How many people you think are going to ask me now?
I was
Probably
the
a
first
lot.
one. I don't care.
So, exactly. And look what happened. So, yesterday, my first point in the talk yesterday, 9 things I wish I knew 9 years ago, was seize the opportunity, right?
See?
Not everyone is going to say yes, but sometimes they will. And it might work for you. So the way that I'm going to brand you today is exactly how I would brand a client. And it's going to be how you brand yourself. We're going to start with a discussion, okay? We're going to start with a discussion about positioning your brand. And I'm going to ask you questions, again, that I want you asking yourself as you think about the positioning of your brand. Now, lucky for you, well, lucky and unlucky, unlucky because I'm giving you homework during Hall of Fame week. Lucky for you, the homework is fun. I have already had a pre-conversation with Andrea. Today you'll get a little mini version of that on stage for the purpose of this exercise. Andrea, as well as Lauren, my colleague and my co-host on my podcast, spoke about a week and a half ago and put together a little podcast episode that just released today. So your homework is to go listen to the latest episode of Brand Therapy, where we talk with Andrea about her goals, her brand, and where we're going with all of this. The discussion we have on stage today is going to be shorter. The conversation will give you a lot of insight into the kinds of questions and things that you should be thinking about as you position your brands for success. So that's your homework, but it's fun. Let's start with the first question. Almost always the first question I ask someone, and it's a big one, and there's no right answer. It's, what is your goal? So just start with there. What comes to mind when I ask you that question? What is your goal with building a brand?
Well, I'd say that my first one is to get rid of that horrible picture. I told you I hate it. And you keep on bringing it back.
I do.
So I would really like to get rid of it.
Well,
that's
good
goal
news.
number 1.
It's going today.
Oh,
yeah.
thank you so much. That's bullying, if you didn't know. I
She
told
said,
them
can we
like
get rid of that photo? I was like,
28 times, I hate
that's
this
my
picture.
before. We're not getting rid of it yet.
I hate it.
So you
know
want to
that.
build a visual brand that more accurately represents you today.
That would be a nice way to put it.
Yes.
Yes. Well, as you said, I have this final project here at Full Sail, and actually we have to come up with a business plan of a company or a product that we might choose or invent or whatever. And after a long thought, I decided that the product that I want to brand and to work upon is myself. I don't have a company. I don't And I'm sorry if you don't like to hear that, but I don't have the entrepreneurship inside of me. I don't want to go there. And so I decided to work on myself and come up with something, I don't know what yet, that would tell a little bit about me, everything that I know, the things that I'm good at. And so, as I said, I don't know exactly how to get there, so I called Phil.
Love
and
it.
here we are.
So what's interesting about this, for you, it fits in with what you're doing in EBMS as your final project. But for each and every one of you, even if you're not intentionally building a personal brand, for example, as a project, you're still building your personal brand. Even if you build your career in a specific industry, you still have a LinkedIn profile. You still ideally have a website where people can find the information they need about you, so we can take that conversation from online to off. So each application and focus and perspective is a little bit different, but all of this still applies to you. I chose Andrea for this experiment for a few reasons. For a few reasons that excite me, actually. Reason number one, you're actually a mature student.
Yeah.
You had a career prior to coming to Full Sail. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's something that I had to say. Actually, when I say that the product I want to work upon is myself, it's not that I want to become famous and have tons of followers. That's not it. I'm on the entertainment business for like over 20 years, and I've been there. I've been on the road. I did a lot of things. I worked on television. I work with in the government. I work with live events. Today, I actually work in a major live event, tennis event in Brazil. I'm also a lawyer, so I have this big career and a lot of things going on. So the idea here is to brand me as a professional.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
not just to like brand me as a make me famous thing. So I think that's a really important point.
Great. What we're doing is taking inventory of who you are, why people should care, how we communicate that in a quick way online. The output of today's exercise, which you'll see tomorrow, we'll reveal it, is going to be a one-page website where we put this into words. To help Andrea, we're not going to finish it, but we're going to start it and get Andrea to the point where she's going to start to feel confident with the image and the brand that she's going to put out around graduation and beyond graduation. Another reason I chose Andrea, I have a soft spot in my heart for international students because I was one of them. Andrea, you're from Brazil.
Brazil, yeah.
How many international students do we have in the room? And we have lots watching. Yeah. So I talked about this yesterday. We have the additional pressure of not only figuring out how do we find a job post Full Sail, but how do we find a job to stay in the damn country so we don't have to go home. We didn't come all the way to Full Sail to just go home. I mean, there are pros to that at some point, but I think when you come to Full Sail, it's a great idea to stick around for a year, at least if you can, and work in this amazing country of opportunities. So that's part of the possibilities that exist, right?
It's a possibility, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Are there any other ideas in terms of where you see this thing going? A year from now, 2 years from now?
I don't exactly know where, like 100% where, but as I said, I'm in the business for like a lot of time now, and I think it's time, after a lot of thought, I decided it's time to take my career to a next level and like go a next step and make it bigger. And I know I can do more, and that's the whole idea of coming to Full Sail and getting this promote my business thing together and having Phil with me. I don't know exactly where this is going to go, but I like where it's going.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's going to go well.
We're not going to overthink it. There's a few interesting things that I've heard so far. Big part of this is taking inventory of goals and proof of concept. I've been talking a lot about that. Proof of concept. Proof of concept could be a school project. It could be a client you've helped, even if you didn't get paid for it. Where is their proof of concept? Proof of concept could also be portfolio items. So what I've heard so far from Andrea in a limited amount of time, again, we're doing a smaller exercise on stage. The longer conversation is the podcast episode, which I encourage all of you to listen to. And subscribe and give me 5 stars. Thanks. The fact that Andrea has the pressure, right, additional pressure to stay in the country, has work experience, those things are interesting to me, right? We're not having to fabricate anything. All I'm doing is listening to where instances of proof of concept exist. You are a lawyer. That is proof of concept. I want to dig even a little bit further now. If I had to put together 3 examples of proof of concept, and it doesn't have to just be law, by the way, but maybe 3 projects or 3 clients where if I asked you quickly, tell me who you've helped in the past and how they benefited, what 3 come to mind?
As I said, I did a lot of things and a lot of different things. So I'll try to come up with like different scenarios here. So as I said today, I work in Rio Open, which is a master tennis event in Rio. Actually, it's the largest tennis tournament in South America. Yay, it's good, it's great. And so that is one live sports event. I've been doing some for like some time. I did television. I worked as a producer, executive producer in a live show, which was a great experience. A lot of people under me, and it was a completely different scenario to work with, and that was also great. I was chief of protocol of the mayor in Rio, and that was also something very different because I had contact with all the official events and authorities and all that kind of protocol thing that is, again, it's events, sometimes it's not as entertaining, but it is. And it's another side of things. So I'd say those 3.
Love
but
it.
I worked at Hard Rock Cafe. I went all around.
We'll leave that out.
Yeah.
The other 3 are impressive.
Yeah, much better.
So right there, without overthinking it, those are 3 solid portfolio examples. Those are 3 solid instances of proof of concept. That's the kind of thing I would link to in a portfolio. Even if you lack visuals, we can still put into words what you did, how you helped the client. What was the objective? What was the outcome? Very simply, right? However, if there are visuals, then that always helps grab people's attention. So right away, I'm thinking of those 3 examples as sub-brands. I'm thinking of potentially little icons that we could grab to represent each one of those areas that you've worked, right? Events, entertainment, or sports or television, right? We can play with how we categorize them. And then politics yeah, I mean, I like those.
I think it's more business.
Business,
great.
Yeah. Business and politics. So right away, I'm starting to categorize and communicate almost your sub-brands as like little siblings. They're each independent, but they're all connected, right? The brand that we're building today is Andrea. We're not coming up with like a fancy name. Your business or your LLC can have whatever name you want, for the purpose of tax, etc. But I think every case here, you are also building your name, your personal brand. It's a great idea to own your name.com, right? If you can get it, if your name is John Smith, that's difficult, but you can get creative with your top level domains. We'll talk a little bit about that. And if you have questions about that, I can talk more specifically about that. I have already heard enough in a few minutes of doing a mini brand audit with you. I've already heard enough to put together a great dynamic, visual, 1-page website. No, I have one more question, actually.
Oh, God. He never stops.
It's true. If you had to sum it up in a sentence or 2, how would you sum up your brand or your perspective, your love of entertainment, for example? How would you sum it up in a sentence or 2?
Oh, my God. You got me there. How would I sum up my love for entertainment? Well, I think that now I'm in a very special moment because, as I said before, it's not a sentence or two, okay? Fine. As I said before, I'm a lawyer, and I also work at the entertainment business for over 20 years. So I think that the good part of this moment is that I'm able to get those two professions that I really like and that I really enjoy together. So this is my moment, and this is also part of the reason of getting this master, because I work with entertainment and I use my law skills. I work with business, actually, with sponsors and fostering deals and all that kind of thing. So I think that's what I really want to get out of it and to make work.
You're a problem solver in all of those industries and all those projects. That's the common thread.
Yeah, actually, my career made me a problem solver because when you work with events and entertainment, you come up with the weirdest of things. And it's like you either see the weird thing and just let it go because sometimes it's not your thing to worry about. And sometimes you see the weird thing. It's not something that you have to worry about, but you fix it anyway. And that's me. I am that person.
I love it.
So I became the crazy problem solver. A little bit because of my law thing and also because of my entertainment background. At the end, everything like intertwines.
I love it.
Everything comes together.
So that, to me, even hearing this conversationally, these are great sound bites that can end up on the homepage of a website, on an about page, in a social media bio. You're going to see how I take some of these, what I would call little nuggets of gold, and turn them into website copy, which all of you can do. I have heard enough of our little mini brand audit, and I am so excited to start visual branding.
Oh, God.
Are you ready for this? Now, you know that I always start with photography. It's the first part of the branding process. I'm going to throw to this little video to show you what has happened prior to arriving on stage today.
Not quite, actually.
Can you crank up the audio on this? This is a video. Audio, please. And I say this, and hold on, I'm going to restart it. Here we go. We're ready? Audio. Photography. It's your secret weapon when it comes to building your personal brand. And I say this, and it surprises people, because when we think of branding, we think of logos, wording, and websites. But in 2020 and beyond, you're juggling two versions of yourself, the in-person experience and the online version. Photography is the closest way that we can recreate the in-person experience. And by photography, I don't mean headshots. I mean photos of you in your environment, an environment that represents how you do what you do. I've had the fortune of building brands for people in business, health and wellness, entertainment, and lifestyle. And I make those brands memorable with strong photography. Prior to Hall of Fame, I introduced Andrea to one of my favorite photographers on the planet. Her name is Ana Telma, and she's based in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Ana was up for the task of photographing Andrea in a great environment where she could be herself, and we could capture it. Let's see the result. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Oh, I'm so excited. You guys are excited too. You're such a good sport. You've been such a good sport, so that's fine. We did a little bit of prep for today, but just so that we could do everything that we're doing today on stage. I said to Andrea, okay, fine, you have to do one thing before you show up today, and that is get photos done. And you happened to be in Rio last month.
Exactly.
And one of my favorite photographers is in Rio, and I said, this is a match made in heaven.
And you were also.
I was also there. How convenient.
And you come back with this horrible picture again.
Are you ready?
I did a whole picture section for him.
Are you ready to kiss this profile photo goodbye, or should we keep it?
I don't know why it's here. I did a whole photo shooting thing for you. And I keep on seeing this thing.
Are you guys ready to see the new photos?
Come
Are
on.
you excited? Here we go.
Go. He always
at
comes
that.
back to this thing.
I promise you'll never see the old profile
I'll leave
photo
the
again.
stage if this picture comes back again. Deal?
Deal.
Okay.
We have a deal.
Go ahead.
So, you guys know, for me, the most important part of branding is photography. I would
show
rather
your horrible picture.
I would rather you skimp on every other visual, but when it comes to photography, honestly, it's my secret weapon when I'm branding, and I think it should be yours as well. The beautiful thing about this campus, we have so much talent and creativity. I remember as an EBMS student as well, I made friends with people in other programs, people that were good at photography. And I don't have to tell a lot of young people, you know, that how important photography is online. Platforms like Instagram, any kind of social media site is so visual. You don't need to hear that from me today, but it's a reminder that this is the most important part of the build. I'm going to show you how we make other decisions from photography. These photos, which I was so happy with, have actually inspired other parts of the visual brand. Now, Andrea has seen the photos.
And nothing else.
And nothing else. So my next part, okay, once we tick the box on photography, we move on to the brand identity. And this is what I don't want you to overthink. I actually don't think any of you need a logo per se upon graduating Full Sail. That might be something you gift yourself a year or two into business. I think for now, put your name in a great font and call it a day. Great visuals, copy that's written in first person. I am this, you know, in a nice, punchy, concise way. And also don't overthink color. I intentionally start branding with photography because photography inspires the rest of the process. Today, we've put together a mood board, which is the next step of the visual build. A mood board allows us, and we just grab images from online. We're not publishing it anywhere, right? So you don't necessarily have to worry. I mean, you should still worry about copyright. But if it's just for reference, for yourself, a mood board enables you to see what you or what the client likes and what they don't like. From the photography, I've put together a mood board that's going to allow us to gauge what colors Andrea likes and what she doesn't like so that then we can continue the build out of the visuals. Are you ready to see the mood board? You haven't seen this yet. I almost sent it to you because I was excited, but then I decided that would kind of defeat the purpose of the surprise.
Are we going to talk colors now?
We are going to talk colors now.
Just one thing. The color thing was funny because he called me once and he said, let's talk about colors. Which colors do you like? Do you like green? And I said, yeah, I super like green. It's a color that I super work with. Yeah, I do too, but I'm not going to use it. So forget the green.
Let's talk about that actually for a second. So,
And it's like everything that you're going to see, he did it.
yeah.
And everything that I said, he not necessarily cared about,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, I listen sometimes.
Very rarely.
So from the photos, originally I thought green is a really strong color, right, in the photos that you saw. But sometimes I actually like to leave the green be the natural element. If you actually look at my branding, you'll see that there's a lot of green. But I actually let green represent nature, and I let green come through on the photography. I know, we're both wearing green today. Still not brand color.
Yeah.
Here are a few options. Okay, you can see the screen down here. This is a good representative of a mood board that I would put together for a client to gauge what they enjoy. Now, two ideas from this. you can sample colors from your photos, from your photography, okay? Have a good friend here on campus that will do you a favor and take some beautiful photos. In the handout that I have for you to download, I tell you some ideas, some specific ideas on where to shoot, how to get ready for a photo shoot. Second idea, you can pull out clothes from your wardrobe, lay them out on your bed and take a picture of those, upload it to your computer, and sample photos from colors that you wear, that you like, that represent you. Those are two immediate ways to make decisions when it comes to color. Color's tricky because there are millions and millions and millions of colors and options. Again, don't be overwhelmed. Either sample colors from the photos, your profile photo, from whatever photos you get that look great, or pull out clothes from your wardrobe and sample those. This is a mood board. I pull ideas and inspiration from websites like Behance, sometimes Google Images, Pinterest, to get some ideas of how these will work and how things can work together. So I put here in text, the color scheme is calm, confident blues with a surprising shock of orange inspired by the colors of Brazil. Obviously, these photos were taken in beautiful Rio, and there was something about the color of the sky, first of all, which, by the way, we had terrible weather in February. This was good.
But that specific day was great.
That day was amazing.
Yeah.
And I also love the way that the color of Andrea's top photographed, that kind of sky, confident, calm blue. I also love specifically sampling colors from your profile photo, because if you think about it, here's an advanced little pro tip. If you're starting to do more text-based visuals on your Instagram feed, for example, for you to have continuity between your profile photo and your feed, it looks good. Your Instagram feed is not just the individual photos that you're posting, but it's kind of like a mood board in 2020 and beyond. And it's not just individually, but how all of these colors start to work together. So let's have a look. Oh, one more thing I want to say. I said about the shock of orange. Nowadays, I don't always brand bright or primary colors, but I try to include at least one color that is noticeable, that is commanding, and I use this as an action color. Anytime on a website where I want someone to do something, I put it in the brighter color, what I would call an action color. Now, it wouldn't make sense to use anything super bright given the palette that we're working with, which honestly I have to attribute to Anna for taking beautiful photos. You also picked good outfits that day. I think my advice to you was...
I'm good at that.
Yes. I said, wear whatever makes you feel like a rock star. I'll never tell you what colors to wear, because there are some things we can plan, and there are other things that are going to happen that are just magical moments, like a blue sky in Rio, which we had literally 3 days of sun all month.
Can I say something about the blue?
You can. Now we'll talk about the mood. Yes.
I am seeing the colors for the first time, and this spectacular color call I mentioned, the green thing. He also asked me, but what are colors that you like? And I said, well, I don't know. I'm not a baby, like baby blue and baby pink and baby yellow, those light things. And he said, I love baby blue. I think I'm going to go with it. And I said, well, I just said I'm not the baby blue kind of thing. And he said, believe me, it's going to work.
Yeah.
And he said, you are, because you were wearing a baby blue. And I said, it's not a baby blue, it's jeans. It's light jeans. And
what do you think? What images do your eye, what are you drawn to right away?
I like the light blue.
Yeah.
I have to tell you. I like the dark blue and I like the orange. I like that they're strong, but they're not like the crazy orange thing, like the carrot thing.
Yeah.
And then he started with the orange talk.
Yeah.
And he said, what about orange? Do you like orange? And I said, well, I like it, but you're not ever going to see me all dressed in orange because I'll look like a carrot. And then he said, I'm going to go orange. So it's like basically when you're working with Phil or with any other person similar to him, I don't know if there is in the planet, when you decide to do something, just go ahead and let him work.
Yeah.
Because whatever you say, like carrot, orange, baby blue, the green,
So I actually want to bring a point up about that because, I mean, we're having a laugh, but you're being a great client. My best work is done when my client trusts me, when they're nice, and when they're open, right? Because branding is, yes, it's creating a website, it's creating a visual presence online, but it's more than that. Branding, this exercise, brings up things in the process. It brings up goals. It brings up challenges. It's actually a bigger conversation. And so I'm always ready for that conversation. I also take feedback with a grain of salt.
Sometimes.
The best part is when I have a client that is open to exploring possibilities. It's not me doing the work. It's not Andrea doing the work. It's a collaboration and it's a partnership. And I'm always quick to explain that. You're welcome to steal the sentence that I say on every first look of revealing a brand identity. I always say this is a collaboration. This is the first instance of putting pen to paper, and it's teamwork. So today I'll get feedback from you to be able to make this perfect. And that's like, because it's intense. It's making decisions that are going to be important decisions in how you represent yourself online.
Yes, and just complimenting what you said and now being like serious about it. When he asked me if I would do this, and I said yes. When you decide to do something like this, when I told him I'm into it, you have to like be into it as a whole.
Yeah, 100%.
You have to trust, and I decided to be here today because I knew Phil before, and I trust him as the great professional he is. So I decided to trust him, and you can't trust a person halfway.
You got to be all in.
You have to trust the whole way. So
That's
it's like,
a good point.
I don't like baby blue. I do. Okay, baby blue.
Look, there's baby blue, kind of. Not fully baby, but kind of baby.
Yeah,
and you
it's
love
jeans,
it. It's
I told
jeans.
you.
Okay, we'll call it jeans. I'm so happy you responded positively
I like
to this,
it. I like
this
the
mood
orange.
board.
And I'm not going to look like a carrot.
Yeah. So to see how we sample and take, abstract ideas from something like a mood board, you'll see this tomorrow. You'll see the reveal, how we can choose some colors based on photography, based on client feedback. Come back tomorrow for the reveal of a beautiful one-page website. In the meantime, let's see. Oh, I broke the rule. I said you'd never see that photo again, but it's on your website.
I am leaving.
So I'm going to open up, actually, my browser. For the last few minutes of this, I want to talk website. I mentioned that this is the final part of building the visual brand. Today, at least in the next few minutes, we're going to have the introduction of a discussion to allow us to make decisions to create what you're going to see live tomorrow. This is awesome because Andrea's website right now represents something similar to probably what you have now, or at least what you've started. Andrea has said this is not finished. This is a work in progress. She was gracious to let me share this today. I always start with what you have. As soon as it's done, make it better, make it better, make it better, and constantly evolve it. If you can spend 5-10 minutes on your brand every single day, this is a marathon, not a sprint. I said that yesterday. So let's have a look very quickly at what we're starting with, okay? So we see all of a sudden, we know the photography is going to change, the brand colors are going to evolve. When I'm working on a website with a client, one of the first things we do is identify examples or brand heroes. No one that we're going to rip off or copy, but people that we can be strongly inspired by the decisions they've made, right? Take 3 or 4 examples out there that could be on brand, that could be in totally different industries, and they will inspire some of the decisions you make. Now, for today's exercise, so you're seeing what we're starting with. Obviously, tomorrow you'll see the final result. But as a brand hero, I'm actually going to show you a past client of mine named Desiree Rogers. I made this one-page website about a year ago after going through the branding exercise of photography. What I love about this website is that it's a one-page website made in Squarespace. So these are anchor links that take you to specific spots on the site, and I'm envisioning us, later today, creating something similar to this, which will exist at your domain. So you're seeing this example. Desiree's a great brand hero. We learn about her. We learn about her purpose. You're noticing not just photos of her, but also environment-driven photos, right? I'm a big, big fan, for example, of having photos. We showed one briefly of having photos that are not just, let me pull up the example, of not just you, but also the environment that you're in. So think about when you're getting your photos taken, not just having photos of you, but also having some environment-driven photos that will add some life to what it is you create.
And we couldn't have chosen a better one there, right?
I love this photo. Also because it's it can be cropped horizontally really beautifully.
But the scenario is awesome.
Yeah. So this is an example. This is a good example. I've also had a start at some website copy. I'm going to point, and list, it's not fancy. It's literally in a Google Doc, okay? I'm showing you the start of the process of creating a website. So I'm imagining something on the homepage. We're going to write it in English, but I thought it might be cute to say hola or something in Portuguese that kind of alludes to, obviously, a big part of you. And then the photos from Rio. Oh my God, I can't wait. Get so excited about that. I've done this literally, how many? 280 times, and I still get really excited. So here's what I'm thinking for about. As a lawyer, producer, and event planner, I know how to make things work and make companies money. Oof. Right away, we're not just talking about who we are and why people should care. We're talking about how this is relevant to you. Here's what you need to pay attention to about me to hook them, right? You're going to see some of this. And if you remember in the brand audit exercise, I asked Andrea to highlight 3 examples of proof of concept. Business manager for the Rio Open, executive producer for a TV show, protocol chief for the mayor of Rio, okay? 3 solid examples. Right away, I could go to a website like the Noun Project, literally gonna go there right now, and I could pull icons for free as long as you attribute them, or you sign up for a pro membership and you can download them and use them without attribution. Right away, I could do a search here for business icons, for example. Type any kind of noun, any kind of keyword, and we'll see literally hundreds, thousands, millions of icons. I mean, I spend all day on this thing. I love this website. In the download that I've given you, philpallen.co/HOF11, I give you the Noun Project as well as other apps and tools I often use when I'm branding. Many of the tools I give you are free. So you're seeing the beginning of the process. Before I get crazy with visuals, I start in a boring old Google Doc with Arial font and no formatting so that I can get the nuts and bolts straight and get everything written down to then be able to make it beautiful, which is obviously like the dessert for me. That's the part I love. But we got to get how we communicate. We got to get that down first. I have to give a shout out to Lauren, my colleague, who has helped me immensely to prepare for today. I've shown you a little window into the process of creating. I'm not showing you the one-page website because today I needed to get the feedback to be able to make it, but you'll see it tomorrow. I think we have probably a few minutes for questions now. I've kept this very kind of basic and shown you the process without lots of, glitz and glamour, because the whole point of this exercise is to convey to you that each and every one of you can do this. Each and every one of you can do this. And I'm super excited to see you create something for yourself without overthinking it. Does anyone have any questions in the final minutes of today's broadcast? I think we have time for a few.
Hi, I'm
Hi.
Kelly. I'm in the computer animation degree, and I just had a question about type fonts. How do you figure out what is the right type font to use?
Great question. That's another choice that can be very overwhelming, right? Because there's so many possibilities. So when there are what feels like unlimited possibilities, I like to make decisions to limit those, make parameters, make some rules. My two favorite sources of typography, Google Fonts and Typekit. If you use a platform like Squarespace, I think Wix as well. I'm not as familiar with Wix, but I know we use that a lot here on campus. These sites have typography options. You can also Google this phrase, Google Fonts type pairing, or even just type pairing. Platforms like Google and Instagram and YouTube, I mean, there are all kinds of ideas on how to pair fonts. The general rule is to pair a serif font with a sans serif font. One is the heading, one is the body. But you don't necessarily have to follow those rules. If you are not a designer, let a designer help you make these decisions, right? So, and I'm not saying you need to hire someone. I'm saying go on Google and look at websites that are dedicated to font pairing. For example, I'm literally going to type it into a Google search to show you this. Font pairing. Ideas. Look at this. The first website that comes up helps you pair Google fonts together. Perfect font pairings, the ultimate guide to font pairing. So that's a good keyword to start with, and then start to make decisions around what you like. But if you've looked at any of my examples, anyone that I've branded, you know I do have a bit of a style, minimalist, clean, simple. I try not to get too stylish with the decisions I make for brands because I want to create something that's going to last for a long time. The softer elements that can change seasonally or as your brand evolves are things like color. Even typography you could update a few years down the road, but something like a logo or putting your name in a font or in typography, you want to rock with that for as long as possible so that you're building that brand equity every single time that you use it. Many brands update and rebrand without you even noticing. Very small, subtle changes with style and trends. But you'll never see really dramatic updates unless it's time for brands to rebrand. Sometimes they have PR issues. Sometimes they rebrand because the business has grown. We can all think of platforms that have rebranded, and they always rebrand with a purpose, right? So at least for the purpose of today, use Google. Google is your friend. Type in font pairings to get some ideas on how designers suggest you pair fonts that you like. Great question. Any others?
Hi, I'm Alexis. I'm a graphic design student. I've listened to a lot of your podcasts and things talking about branding, and I know proof of concept is something that you do talk about a lot.
That's a Phil word, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. My one question is, though, when you're branding a company that's more of a startup, what kind of questions do you ask, and what do you use to find their sort of proof of concept when they don't necessarily have a lot of projects and things that they've already done?
That's such a great question. That is such a great question. It's hard when you're working with a client, or honestly, students are going to relate to this. Like if you've not gone out and worked, I mean, that's a real competitive advantage in your instance, and part of why I chose you for this experiment, which is less than an hour on stage, is because I knew I would have lots to work with, given that you have work experience. However, when there are not a lot of projects to show proof of concept, I have to get creative about where I draw people's attention. So, if, for example, I'm actually going to pull up the Google Doc that has Andrea's website copy that we're working on. If I don't have projects or examples to show, I might divert attention to expertise, right? So in this instance, I think this is really cool to kind of summarize very quickly what that person or that client's capabilities are. That's a way to still present something that will interest and grab the attention of your audience, but hopefully also make them forget that actually you don't have any projects yet. However, even if you don't have projects, find a project to talk about. I think even startups, what's so important is to have proof of concept, even if it's a stretch, even if it's small, you need something. You need an instance of a win that will help sell it to future customers as examples. So I actually think as a graphic designer, I think that's part of your challenge. If you're a good designer, you're not just thinking about visuals, you're asking great questions like the one you asked, which are really business questions. Branding and design is business as far as I'm concerned. Branding is business. It's organization, it's prioritizing, it's communicating to short attention spans, it's problem solving. We can have complete control over the first impression we give others online. And that is on you to figure out based on research, and research could be as simple as asking people, you know, what do they like? What do they don't like? What do they use? What do they want more of? Right? Listening to your customer, your client, what's important to them. Ideally, they're open to also exploring things along that journey of working with them. So those are a few ideas. I think really comes down to asking good questions, and it also comes down to getting creative about what you draw attention to if you don't have those more obvious examples of proof of concept. Great question. So I think it's time to wrap. Am I going to see all of your beautiful faces tomorrow, either in person or online, for the big reveal? Give Andrea one more round of applause. You've been incredible today. Thank you for being such a good sport, and we will see you back tomorrow.